Welcome back. Now let's address a crucial matter, the number of independent witnesses who've come up with the same account of flying saucers. Why do so many of them claim to have been abducted by aliens? Is the sheer volume of reports proof that something is really going on, or merely an indication that mass hysteria has taken hold? We went to America's #1 UFO hotspot, Gulf Breeze, to test the water. The town of Gulf Breeze spends its time basking in the subtropical sun of the Florida Panhandle. Separated from the mainland, it wallows in the superheated waters of the Gulf of Mexico. Nothing much used to happen in this small affluent town, apart from the occasional wrath of a hurricane. But on November the 11th, 1987, a new storm hit town that would change the lives of some of the residents forever.
My thoughts were to catch a picture of it as it went overhead. This strange blue beam came out of it and struck me.
And this object was just hovering, it was perfectly still.
We're seeing something that we're obviously seeing, but we have no concept of what it is that we're seeing.
Oh, look, drop! Look! It's coming towards us, isn't it closer to us?
It was a reader's contribution to a local Gulf Breeze newspaper which sparked off a unique phenomenon which would draw in tens of thousands of people.
I returned to the office one day and my secretary said that a man had brought in some UFO photographs.
That man was Ed Walters, a local builder, but he wasn't the only one who saw strange things over Gulf Breeze.
My wife and I had been in town and setting up tables at our church. As we were driving towards our home, suddenly up ahead, I saw this craft hovering above trees, and I pointed it out to my wife, and we watched this thing as I drove toward it.
It became apparent that it was not just an Ed Walters UFO, because many other witnesses came forward, city council people, ministers, so many people that we felt like it was a whole community-wide thing.
UFO researchers were intrigued. One was an optical physicist, Dr. Bruce Maccabee.
From November of 1987 to July of 1988, there were probably well over 100 sightings with several hundred witnesses involved.
The floodgates had opened. It seemed that everyone had a UFO story.
I saw what I thought was a shooting star, and it went whoosh, like this and just stopped. And then all of a sudden, another one came whoosh, like this.
The red light came in, and it pulsated for a while, and then it turned bright white.
And there was this huge orange globe hanging there. It was about like 4 stories high, and it was hovering over the water.
I was walking and looked up, and I saw a big shining green oval shining right through the cloud. It was very vivid color, very bright neon green.
The atmosphere in Gulf Breeze started to reach fever pitch, with people desperate to see their own UFO. Residents started to congregate on the beaches at night and became known as the Sky Watchers.
Come on, follow it down. Shoot her up. Shoot her up.
Shoot her up.
Turning up. Turning.
Something's pointing down out of it.
There is. Oh, big, red, bright. It's coming towards us, isn't it? It's closer to us. I can see that with my naked eye. Wow. And it's shooting out to the right.
We started going out on watches, and from there on, it's just been a wild and crazy ride of watching UFOs in the sky around here.
There's 2 of them.
There's 3 of them.
Did you see the white? Did you see the white black spot in the middle with the ring all around it? Points of light all around. Look, drop! Look.
So what were the Sky Watchers seeing? Gulf Breeze has one of the world's highest concentrations of air bases, which makes it almost impossible not to see an aircraft when you look up at the sky. Whatever the truth, it certainly seems that many people in Gulf Breeze believe they've had a close encounter. This has led to the foundation of a most unlikely support group.
I know that I fought them. I mean, I can remember fighting them, you know, because I remember kicking one and I remember punching another one. So I know I fought them.
I started this support group about 3 years ago for people who felt that they had been abducted by aliens and taken aboard a craft and had medical procedures performed on them, then brought back.
What I was standing at my kitchen window, and one of the little fellows was outside the window, you know, eye high, even though he was really a short fellow. Somehow he was eye to eye with me, and I'm pounding on the blinds and just screaming at him, "Go away, you can't come in." And all his reaction was, you know, just kind of thinking to me was, well, gee, I thought we had some kind of a relationship. He was surprised that he thought I would ask them in.
I was riding my bicycle and a craft did come down and take me, and they were doing surgery on my knees.
So are these people hysterical, or are they really experiencing alien visitation? Stanton Friedman, would you rather those people had not made those claims?
No, actually, I'm glad they did, that they had courage enough to. I've been to Gulf Breeze, I've talked to Dr. Maccabee, I've met Ed and several of the other people there. Out of context, it sounds weird, but when you find similar sorts of stuff going on all over the country, you're beginning to say that, well, the real explanation is there is a new disease out there. I find that relatively foolish. Also, I've worked with the professionals, the PhDs, the MDs, who have worked with abductees. That's just a little slice of the whole picture. And I'm convinced from working with those people that certainly hundreds of people across a huge country, at least hundreds, have been abducted. Now, whether we can make sense out of it or not is another question.
Well, let's see if Chris French can make sense out of it. What do you say?
Well, I mean, one of the things that's slightly difficult about this kind of program is you cover so much in that single excerpt. I mean, you mentioned Ed Walters. For example, Ed Walters is very likely a hoaxer. I mean, I
don't agree at all. Have you met him?
Let me finish. A papier-mâché model of a UFO was found in his loft by the person who moved into his house
the pictures
after he moved out. He's a known hoaxer. He makes double exposure films.
False accusation again.
That they actually helped him to make. There's sworn statements saying that they actually helped in the hoax. That's one part of it. Once rumour gets round that there are sightings, and of course everybody starts to look at the sky. Any single thing that's slightly out of the ordinary is, great, I'm part of this, I've seen a UFO. Then we get onto the abductees. This is we could spend a whole program on the abductees. The techniques that are used to actually get at these stories very often involve hypnotic regression, other similar types of techniques.
Not always.
And these, not always, but there are other similar types of technique as well, not just hypnosis. And we know that far from this being a way of revealing the truth about hidden memories, what this is a way to encourage fantasy. There is a mass of experimental evidence to show this.
Well, let us talk about what might not be fantasy. David Hughes, as an astronomer, what is your idea of what they might actually have seen?
I have no idea what they have seen, but what fascinates me is how poor their photographs are. I mean, in my 40 years of holiday snaps, my snaps have got better. I have a better camera, it focuses automatically. Why are these UFO pictures always out of focus and always fuzzy?
They're not always out of focus and they're not always fuzzy.
But these were. And also, when I see stars...
They're taken at night.
When I see stars with my friends, I can always make my mind up whether I'm seeing 2 or 3. And why are these people debating something that
they're shouting as another one comes into view.
Let me ask Tim Good. Tim Good, you've talked to abductees. What is your feeling about them?
My feeling is that I have to take your point, actually. I think Dr. French is quite right. There has been a tremendous amount of fantasy and exaggerations, people jumping on the bandwagon. I don't think it's any coincidence that the number of abduction reports has increased corresponding to the landing of the X-Files in the United Kingdom. Having said that, I have spoken to people who have fully conscious recollections of having been abducted. No hypnosis involved, which I think can be very unreliable and dangerous, and I'm convinced that some of those people have actually been abducted.
Frank, what do you think?
I think I'm very concerned about the danger aspect. I am concerned about the way that people, for whatever motives, are exploiting these sort of things, and people, some of whom might well need real medical treatment, are being taken off by these hypnotherapists or whatever they call themselves. This is a serious matter, and I find programs like this somewhat concerning to me, that the way they increase this hysteria. It's not a good thing.
Oh, point taken. I think there was a measure of agreement on both sides there about the dangers of hysteria.
Remember that many of the people who work with abductees are mental health professionals who are very concerned, first of all, about the mental health of the abductee, and secondly, about whatever UFO experience they may or may not have had. We're not dealing just with parlor games here.
Can I come back on that? I mean, this is an important issue. I have not seen a single study that has shown that what these people are doing actually makes their clients any better. They clearly are distressed people that go to seek help. There's not a single outcome study. Is it actually ethical to convince people that they've had these experiences
wait.
if we don't
So
have any independent verification?
You're saying that it's the person who's working with the purported abductee who is convincing them they've had the experience. It's been my experience.
On at least some occasions this is happening, Stanton. You can't deny it. I'm sure that,
just the reverse
I'm sure
is
similar
often
You say it is, he says it's the reverse, and I must wind up this section of the programme. Whatever you may think of the dangers of the hysteria, don't forget our phone lines are still open. The numbers again are 0891 980 111 if you believe aliens have visited the Earth, and 0891 980 222 if you don't. This is a television program. It's time for us to take another break. Coming up, the conversation that NASA doesn't want you to hear between two astronauts who've just spotted a UFO. Well, don't go away. We'll be back with more of that incident and its unexpected conclusion.